up? What is up? Welcome to another episode of the Catalyst Effect podcast. This is episode 11 already. This is crazy. I'm Klaus. As always, as with me is Crypto Hado and Missy. What is up, boys? How was your week this week? Anything to catch up on? What about you, Hado? How was your week, brother?
Yo, what's up? Your boy Hato here. We are in the college football playoffs. Hook 'em horns, baby. Let's go. Sorry,
All
Florida
right.
State.
No one
Did your
Um,
team win or something? Is that why you're
moving
happy?
on.
yeah.
Moving on to college
Moving
sports.
on.
Yeah, you two assholes don't care, but I give a I care a lot. As you can see, I'm all decked out in burnt orange. My week has been great. Astronaut this week, did pretty good. Um, the game that I did a review on actually reached out, and a couple of the people left me some feedback, so that was cool. Um, and it's just really cool to see that the show kind of like take its form in the fucking Web3 sphere, right? It's kind of getting some recognition now. So, and some comments there here and there are people are like, oh, that's not cool. Like, I'm really thrilled that I've got
What
to this point with the show.
what game did you do for
Phantom
Astronaut?
Galaxies.
Phantom Galaxies? Oh yeah, that's right. I
Phantom?
remember watching
Oh,
that.
that's the one with the Gundam.
Yep.
Yeah, and my dumbass didn't know you could transform the
Until
entire
the end,
time.
this guy finds
Yeah.
out like the last 15 seconds of the video where he can transform into a fucking Gundam.
What
Yep,
was
and Phantom Galaxies trolled me. They're like, "Don't skip the tutorial."
what, what was the
This is
takeaway
why.
feedback?
What was that?
What was like your biggest takeaway from the feedback?
I mean, my biggest takeaway from their feedback was that they're going to be releasing like a slew of updates. They're aware of the things that I addressed, so it's really cool to see like because you don't get this from a Web 2 game, right? You don't get like if let's say like I know that people are complaining about CS:GO or CS2 when it came out with the hit detection, right? And you had a creator, the top of the line, Simple, right? He's this esports god, plays CS:GO tournaments most of his career, and he's a streamer now, or I think he's both. And he was reaching out and saying like the game is not up to par, like the hit detection's bad, blah blah blah, right? As a content creator of his status, you would think that Valve would listen, right? You would think that they would care about his opinion, but they don't care, right? And he called him out and said that they don't care about what I have to say. Like they're, I would say, multi-million-dollar company or billion. I don't even know how much they make revenue wise, but they're a very established company. For Web3, these games they see you like review a product and you have like good points and good intentions with those points and stuff. They reach out to you and they come back with feedback like, yeah, we understand your point of view and like thank you for reviewing the game and all that stuff and showing it to your audience and like, yeah, we're improving it this way. We're gonna come out with XYZ feature, and it's really cool to see that because you don't see that in Web 2. So that's the coolest thing to me is that they're just reaching out to people that are willing to create content for their product and kind of addressing the points that I have, good and bad. Hey, you watching this video right now, come closer. I got a secret for you guys. When it comes to content creation, music is everything in your videos. And if you're looking for the right music to add to your video, you may be kind of overwhelmed with your options. You might be tired of getting copyright strikes on your videos because YouTube is very unfavorable to those kind of things. Well, boy, do I have the solution for you. Head on over to pro.splashmusic.com. You can generate AI music with text prompts. That's right, you can type words like I want heavy drums and bass. Here we have samples. Remember guys, head on over to pro.splashmusic.com. Use my promo code HOTOFREE to get your first month off and happy music making with AI.
That was a point that I was talking about in a recent spaces that I was doing with who was it? You were in Synergy Land, right? Like we were
Synergy
both
Land.
in there, Hado, right? We
Yeah.
were talking
Yeah.
about this where sometimes we take for granted the accessibility we have right now to developing and like the developing cycle and just the developing team and all that stuff, right? So like it's something we shouldn't take for granted. We should really take advantage of it, make sure we give valuable feedback that can be heard. And just like now is the time to like really be involved with games that you're really passionate about, and you want your opinions to be heard and implemented into this ecosystem, right? Because if that could have been something that I could have done with maybe like a game like Call of Duty when I was really in love with it, maybe it would have been a completely different game now, if many others just like myself would have been being able to be involved with Call of Duty, because there's so many good content creators and professional gamers that have played and grinded and dedicated their life to playing that game, that have amazing idea of how to make it like run really good for like the rest of time. And they feel exactly what you were saying, how to with Simple, right? And CS:GO 2 is like, I gave all this valuable feedback and they don't care, they don't hear it, because at the end of the day, like, those company have reached a level of profits and just like making a product that they know is going to be like purchased year after year after year, that they don't need to retain any of those feedbacks, right? Like they do hear it, they do see it, they implement what they think is necessary, but they're not actively in need of like being engaging with the audience that's providing that feedback, or giving any sort of recognition to that feedback, right? Like it's not like they're saying like, oh yeah, Simple gave us this and we're going to implement it. They might see it and they're like, that's a good point, let's look into that, and they might do it, but they won't give that recognition, right? And I think that's something we have in our space as pretty cool.
Yeah, and I
What
think
would
the
you
intent is
say
very
is
important here.
Missy, go ahead and come closer to your mic a little bit, brother. I think you're a little low there.
what would you say was the best feedback that you got from the community?
I mean, there are some people that talked about their complaints with the game. And it was really cool to see that I was able to get feedback from both sides, like good and bad. And I wish I could have explored that a little bit better, because I did ask them, like, yeah, well, how can they make it better or whatever? Because like Clouds, I want to provide solutions. I don't want to just complain and complain, complain. And when there was negative comments, they couldn't expand on how they could make it better. But when there was positive comments, people were, they were happy to share their opinion with me. And I think people are still kind of hesitant and scared to like be too critical and push away like opportunity. So that's why a lot of people don't want to be honest.
It's crazy you brought that up, dude, because a lot of this stuff, like, I've gotten like a different perspective over the last week or so, right? Because I just recently did a content piece with a project that's going to be coming out soon, in the space. Be on the lookout for that when it does. But that was one of the things that came up, right? Where feedback was asked to be given, and like I brought up the point of providing solution, and actually one of the devs from that project gave me a different perspective of like asking for solutions, right? Because it's true, like, not everybody can provide a solution to how to fix games, right? But I think it's how you present that feedback and like how you presented to the developing teams in a way that they understand it and they can hear you, and maybe have a conversation with you, that you can provide a little bit more detail on what you mean by that, by fixing a certain issue or something like that, you get me, is what matters, right? Like, because a lot of gamers don't have a solution in mind, but they just have different ideas or ways that they feel about a certain mechanics or something, that's still valuable feedback, but if you're an asshole about it when you're providing it, you get me, nobody's gonna hear you. If you come from a way of like being respectful and like, hey, like, this is just some things that I've noticed, I don't really know how to fix it, but just bringing it up to your attention, you get me, then that's something that you're gonna be heard of probably 1,000 times more over it than if you come off as like, like some pretentious like comment or some shit like that, um but yeah, man, it's crazy because I was just speaking about that. It's pretty cool, man. I did see some of the comments in your latest Ask or Not, and like they did have some great opinions in there. I saw somebody talking about like making like maybe including some type of like saving ports in between like missions or goals, so that you didn't have to travel so much in between like spots to be able to save your progress. And I thought that was really interesting, because seeing your gameplay, I definitely see the benefits from that.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of wandering. And those are the kind of things in these kind of games that it's like, do I want my player to explore the world that I've built, or do I want them to get straight to the point and get to the action? And it's like, okay, the first time you can wander, right? But to have an ability to fast travel, it's another game mechanic that's very common nowadays. Like, you imagine like navigating Assassin's Creed, in the world where they had it was back in like the 1700s, and you're like an American Indian or something, and you have to like go from like one side of the United States to the other.
Yeah.
No, you're just gonna fast travel, and it saves a lot of time. And yeah, that's one of the things that I noticed too is a lot of the video had to be cut because it was me like dying twice, and I had to go back from the main point that I started back to the conflict that I was like trying to resolve. Right, so I think it
Yeah,
was this the conflict.
a game I've been playing.
What?
Yeah,
I was thinking of busy making a conflict joke. Sorry, go
Oh,
ahead.
because of all the yeah, yeah. We'll get into
citizen
that in just a
conflict.
little bit.
Yeah, a game that I've been playing that actually has that solved already, and it's had it solved for a long time because it's basically a Diablo 2 clone. It's Seraph, right?
Seraph, yeah.
Um, as someone that was a hardcore Diablo 2 player growing up, like it's 75% a Diablo clone. To be honest with you, a lot of the abilities are very similar. A lot of the way the game is set up is very similar. What I will say is there are a few quality of life issues that they did address. So it's actually in certain ways a lot nicer to play. For example, like bag size, they added some new features to it with like the amulet power system and stuff like that. But something Diablo always had is like a waypoint system where once you would go to a new land or a new area of the map, you'd get a waypoint and you'd be able to travel back very quickly. So I think that's something that games could learn from and something they should think about integrating into their gameplay. Where it's like you do get this experience where people fully experience your map and what your game has to offer, but it's not necessarily something that once they've been there, they don't have to do it again, right? And I think that is kind of one of those things where in Diablo, it's like finding the waypoint is kind of like a part of the game where you're like, holy shit, like finally got the waypoint here, like I'm good to go. Um, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it depends too a lot in the ecosystem of the game and the type of design the game is going for, right? Because,
yeah,
for example, like when I think of like a single campaign game mode, right, or like a single player game, right, I see the huge benefits of having like a fast travel or like some form of like saving points in between like goals and stuff like that, right? Because obviously that's a lot of traveling time, but like if the model was like a multiplayer open world type of ecosystem, I could also see the cool side of having to travel and explore and adventure the ecosystem because there's so much potential for everything to happen, right? Like you could have like a whole role play side of things happening where you can get hijacked or like get taken out of like a mission as you're approaching your goal or something like that. You know, like it depends a lot on the, like for example, like Skyrim is a good example, right? Like Skyrim had the component of single player and like not Skyrim, but Elder Scroll, right? Which is similar to Skyrim, but I could use Skyrim 2 as an example, but for what I'm trying to make, Elder Scroll is a better example. Elder Scroll had both single player and multiplayer components, right? And when you went into like the faction war, it was still the same big size map as the single player, right? And you have fast traveling within factions, right? You could travel between the towers and stuff, but you could also explore that vast land and run the risk of like getting assassinated by a group of assassins that were out there from another faction or some shit like that, you know? So it depends what you want to experience inside that ecosystem. So I can see the
yeah,
benefit
that's a fair
to both
point.
sides, you know?
Yeah. And I think Phantom Galaxies, what it does well, which was really, it's really weird. Like whenever I come across a game in Web3 that has like voice acting and story, like some
Mm.
kind of story,
Hmm.
but it had me, kind of interested in like what's going on in this world, and that's kind of rare for Web3 games because a lot of these games are kind of like I don't want to say they're cash grabs or like half-assed experiences, but they're not like full-fledged games, right? And I think Phantom Galaxies is trying. I mean, they put it in their website, like they're trying to build story, right? And I got that little hint of like, hey, we're actually building a story here. There's something to explore here in this game, and this, it's not like the best story in the world. Some of the dialogue is kind of like uh how do I say it? Like it's it's like they kind of wrote it
Generic.
and then yeah, it's generic, but it's like they wrote it and then it's like they skipped a line or something.
Mm.
Like, can I ask you a question? It's like, yeah, what's up? And it's like, hi, I'm so and so, and it's like, shouldn't you have started with like it? Just like the way they placed it was weird. And then there was one thing that was really weird. Is like there was a character that it sounded like they were using like AI generated voice, and then out of nowhere he was like, "Hi, I'm country," and I'm like, what the hell? Like this guy's got split personalities. What the fuck?
Hey man, maybe that's the whole point, you know. Hey, like maybe it was like a dude with split personality, you know, bipolar in the game.
I don't think that. I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you if that was intentional or not. But to hear some British like AI generated voice that
Go
I've
to
heard
Belgium.
that same voice on YouTube Shorts and TikToks before, explaining some bullshit in like somewhere, right? Where it's like, oh, this is an interesting fact about hygiene, or this is an interesting fact about Alabama, like some random shit, right? That they go on with the AI voice, and they use that same voice in the game, and I'm like, okay, this sounds AI generated, and out of nowhere, this dude sound country. I'm like, yo, like, pick a voice, my
I
dude.
did see one of the comments talking about how like they thought that the character walking, like the part where you're just not like in a spaceship or something, took away from the game. And I disagree a little bit, right? I think that added,
Same,
like, I think it made the game cooler and like have something else to do within the game loop, right? Like it gave me the feeling of that Mass Effect
yeah.
feeling, you know, like where you could do that. And I don't know, I just think it's another element where another casual player could have like more to do rather than just like grind to this game of like exploring or like fighting, you know?
I think it to add to your point, it gives you a level of storytelling to like
Right,
walk around in a world and make your own narrative in the world, just like Mass Effect did, which is a
right.
really good thing they did. And one drawback from that, oh, Mizzy green screened. One drawback from that is that the NPCs didn't have names, and I know this is like an early access issue, right? Oh,
It was
oh,
just called
Mizzy's
NPCs, right? Oh,
yo,
oh,
yo,
Missy's taking
yo.
over.
hey,
Wait a
hey, I'm
second.
sorry.
Hold
I'm
up. Okay,
sorry.
Missy. Okay, hold up. Hold up. I swear, man, we can minimize our screen. You don't have to take over like that. I can take over, bro. Relax, bro. I
this
don't
is
know what I'm
this is
doing here,
how he's
man. Okay,
gonna,
there you go, bro. There you go. You have the whole screen, man. You don't have to take over like that. Holy shit.
bro.
That
This
was
is how he
scary,
gonna get
man.
attention. He's like, hey, I gotta say something. I gotta
He's
say
like,
something.
yo, I got
Look
my
at
hand
me.
up, motherfuckers. No, that was funny.
No, not at all. I was trying to change something. My bad, guys.
No, but to get back to Phantom Guys real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, all the NPCs didn't have names. They
Yeah,
were
they were
just
called
named
NPCs, right?
NPC.
I
Yeah.
thought it was
So
pretty funny.
I thought that was pretty funny. And some of them have voice acting, and it's just really cool to see Web3 games that take a leap of faith and be like, all right, like we've seen what happens with a lot of these games in this space. There's no voice acting, there's no story, it's just a hollowed out experience. I've even seen games where they just play one tune the entire time. It doesn't change at all. It doesn't matter what you do to click the game. It's just a fucking loop of one song, right? And that's like the early access experience. So to have a game actually take the time to build different worlds that you can explore and walk around and talk to different people and like explore the world, that's really cool to see, and that's really appreciated. And I didn't expect this. That's the beautiful thing about my show. I'm not expecting anything. Like it's all face value. There's no expectation. I mean, other than reading like the little synopsis on the website, I have no idea what to expect for these games. So
Well, it's also, man, like we got to start looking at games for the potential that they could have, right? Like we got to start looking at these ecosystems or like IPs as a potential they could have as well, right? Because I see such a cool
yeah.
world for Phantom Galaxies with the Gundam, right? Like if
Mm-hmm.
they were to transform that into NFTs and people could have their skin into like their own Gundam, like attached, you know how like that what was that one game where you could have like each character had a Gundam assigned to them, you know, and it was like they even matched like the color of like their like suits with like the color of like the clothes that they wear and shit like that. Like it was just really like personalized, right? Like you could
Right.
tell that that Gundam belonged to that character, and like if you are able to replicate that in when you take it into gaming, right? Like I feel like we've, how do I say this? Because it could be true and it's also not true, right? I do feel like there's a huge crowd still that like really enjoys single player mode games, right? Like single player games. But I do feel like gaming is almost evolving more into like multiplayer, right? And like that's where really like the entertainment factor comes from, right? Like the dopamine factor
Yeah.
comes from. And in a world like of Phantom Galaxies, it would be so cool to see a popular Gundam game that is multiplayer and people can have like personalized skins and like maybe involve some UGC factors in there where you're allowing people to design Gundams and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
just think like potentials for certain IPs in Web3 are so cool to look at because
Yeah.
if they execute it properly, I mean, it could be like massive.
And I Mass Effect. The other thing I want to add to that point is what's missing. I'm gonna throw the My Hero Academia game into the equation too because I hated that game. But what they did really good is they brought in a tutorial with voice acting, right?
Right.
So we don't have a game that's like this is what an NFT is. Oh my god, like the fucking anime voices and shit. You could throw that in there and like explain to people why the NFT is in this game and what you can do with it, and like this is your level of UGC. You can create your own custom, like just do your like little anime voice acting or whatever, and that's how you can get people educated in the
But
game
that's where
of as
UGC
to
is so
why.
important as well because
Right.
for games like the problem with Web3 games is that most companies in Web3, right, have a funding issue, right? Like they have low
Yes.
budgets, they have
Yes.
very specific allocations to what they need to accomplish, right? So when you
True.
think about stuff like that and they're like, well, do we spend money on a voice actor just to get that point across, right? That's where the UGC component is so effective. Why not work with your community and start putting like maybe like campaigns of like, hey, here's a chance to be inside our game. Do you want to be a voice actor? Do you have what it takes? Show us what you have, and get your community to do that for you. I think there's a project out that actually I have a friend of mine that works with. I think they're called Moon World, and they did that. They asked for the community to do the voice acting for them, and now they have a whole radio show type of thing where they do episodes with the community doing the voice acting for the characters. So there's so many like unlimited options and that you can venture into with UGC, that I don't think people are taking into its full potential. Because when you talk about something like that, it's something that you can involve your community, and most likely there's someone in there that has that talent and is looking for something like that.
Could you imagine, like, yo, we're gonna show you guys how to mint an NFT on Polygon. What Polygon? Why don't we use Avalanche? Yeah, Avalanche is better. Yeah, I love Avalanche. Just
Yeah.
fucking play
And
with
then,
it and
and
have
then and then
fun.
you mentioned like a shitty like network, and then you have somebody pop up in the background like saying like baka, like like calling you stupid or some shit like that. Like that's what you have to make it, right? Like you have to do
Hey
like stuff.
guys, what about the Squid Game token? Isn't
Yeah.
that a rug?
Yeah, yeah, like some. But
you
hey,
know?
anyway, man, that was a long, long intro for you. How are you, Missy, bro? How was your week? Tell us what you got into this week. Anything interesting that you want to share?
Oh,
Oh shit, I think Missy's like.
he fell asleep. He
I
fell
fell
asleep. I
asleep
put him to sleep again.
during that
Yes.
intro.
I think Missy was like,
Where
God damn, bro, this guy's never gonna shut
this
up
is the
about.
this is the first week of January, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we
You
went
gotta
all
take
the
them
way.
naps. You gotta take them naps, old man.
We went all the way to quarter
Never.
one, bro.
I would never. I will never take naps. Naps are
Hey,
for
naps are
weak.
good. They're
Naps
healthy.
are for weaklings. They
Okay.
tell you that to make
Talk
you
to me
feel
in 5 years.
better.
Talk to me in 5 years.
I don't take naps. I hate naps.
They've been telling me about to take naps since I was 18, man. I don't believe in them. But my VTuber's like freaking out this week, so that's fun.
Oh, that's
He's like
not
doing all
good.
sorts of weird shit. But outside of that, I mean, it was a good week. I played. I'm not gonna get to the boring stuff. Like, yeah, I worked my ass off, but what else is fucking you?
Right.
I played Seraph, and I played a lot of Citizen Conflict. I
Yeah, let's get
played.
into that, man. because that's like
Yes.
basically the I want to do this little thing. I think that was the game of the week for us this week, right? Citizen
Yeah.
Conflict. We've been really playing it a lot. We've been trying to see if it's a potential title that we can kind of bring into our ecosystem and be consistent with and make content around. But how are you
Yeah.
guys feeling about it? Right? I'll
What
start
I
with you,
what I
Busy.
what I will talk about, like I started off my week playing a lot of Seraph, and I'll have some gameplay clips coming out soon.
Ooh,
I purposely not put out content on it yet because I want to hit level 30 to use this one particular spell that I think looks like really good in content. Because it is a Diablo skin, like I know exactly what spells to expect basically. So I want to create content. Just there isn't much content to create if I'm being honest, in the sense that I'm not going to start breaking out a bunch of guides and such because I know it's during a testing phase right now, and it's going to end up getting changed anyways. But what I will do is, do some gameplay clips, and then I'll post those up so people can see more about what the game's about. I'm level 29 right now, so I only need one more level. And I tried getting more access for the rest of our guild, but the devs team's been pretty like low key. They're not even letting like half their community in. So I was even lucky enough to actually get access to play the game. So that was cool. Then after I was we're all looking for FPSs to play. We're all looking for shooting games to play. And then our homie, we've all talked about Citizen Conflict. I feel at one point or another. Like Clouds has talked to us about it early on when we started Catalyst. Hato and I have talked about it, but it's like we've never really pulled the trigger on the game. And then our homie Addis, who was on the Catalyst Effect episode, I believe, like 7 or something.
7. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of them who haven't, don't know who Addis is or want to see like what we do with him, go check out that episode. But our homie Addis, he uh, he made a really cool trailer out of the recent Citizen Conflict update that they did, and it kind of drove all of us to go try out the game. And it has potential for sure. And they're building like a whole ecosystem around it, which is really cool. It's so far been the FPS that, well, I don't. It's not technically an FPS, but um, it's so far the shooter that I've played the most in Web3. I would say. The second closest would be like Farcana. I played a lot of Farcana too, but Citizen Conflict is definitely up there so far. Like we'll get into it and we'll talk about. I think we should talk about our feedback like on the pod,
Yeah, man, I'm down.
and maybe we can like share it with them and like they
I'm
could actually
down.
watch this, because I think that we all had like a lot of valid feedback and there was a lot that we did enjoy of it and like the potential that we do see.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, man. I'll start us off. I think the game has a ton of potential, right? I think it's a fun concept. My favorite things about the game are definitely like the map design for the game is really good. I think the maps play super well. I like the idea of having like factions for like teams, because then so one of the things that they don't have, right, is like they don't have a party system, right? And usually for me that would be a big deal, and I would hate it, right? Like if I'm not able to party up with the team that I want to play with, or like the homies I want to play with, or have a way to at least be in the same lobby consistently, then that would be a problem for FPS in my opinion, right? Like to make it fun. Um and this game doesn't have a party system, but they do have a faction system, and they what I do like about it is that you're able to choose the region of your server. So like if you want to play in Europe, Asia, North America, like you have this option, and then once you're in there, you can choose the faction that you want to be in. And based on the faction that you choose, you can tell your teammate what faction you're in, and they can join you as well. I think as far as like designing goes, one of the things that I would give feedback to is that they should fix the number that's in the faction. You know how it says 5 out of 5? Um, they should fix that to be accurate, to let the players know what's the capacity for each faction, but also be accurate to like real player to bots comparison, right? Like it should just either be like a leaderboard per faction where you can see the gamer tags and the rest say like bot one, bot two, whatever you want to call it, right? or it could be like a number how they have it now, but that it actually is only getting filled up by real people, so like if you have out of 20 people, right, like it's the max per faction and only 3 real players are in there, you only see 3 out of 20, right? Like, and then now you know that the rest of the player count is going to be bought for that faction, right? So I think little things like that can be integrated. As far as mechanics go, I'll let how to get into the optimization issue because he was the one like really bringing that up during the game, which I fully agree with him. The optimization needs to happen, but for me, one of the biggest mechanic issues that I noticed was the mantling. Right, there is no mantling in the game. I think for FPS, especially ones that have sprinting involved, a mantling mechanic should be definitely implemented in it. And then also the biggest thing I had for me that was an issue was the motion blur. Having a motion blur that cannot be enabled or disable is tough, dude. I hate playing with motion blur on. It just it like fucking ruins my my hand to eye coordination. You get me? Like I cannot shoot with motion blur on. It just fucks with my awareness of the map and just everything, right? Like I just hate it. So having the ability to be able to take that off will be beneficial. And another thing I noticed in the settings is that there's no way for players to really control the sensitivity of their mouse because there's no slider indicator, right? It's just like an on or off button for like mouse acceleration, which is not really the same thing. But I guess you could control that with your DPI in the mouse. It's not like the biggest issue, but it's just little mechanics that I'm used to seeing in FPS, that are just valuable in my opinion to implement.
Nah, I agree with stuff like that. Like it's a lot of little things that you don't really realize until they're gone, right? You
Yeah,
kind of take them for granted. It's like a big quality of life thing.
yeah.
Yo, Hado, real quick, you all right, bro?
Yeah,
Because you're like
I'm
looking
chilling.
down at your phone, looking stressed and shit. That's what I'm asking.
No, I'm writing down my notes because I have like
uh,
specific things that
Oh shit,
I was
oh, got it,
prepared.
got it,
this man
got it.
brought
Yeah.
notes. I would love to hear
I
it.
just,
Let's go.
I just wanted to make sure you were all right. So I was like, damn, did he get like a weird text or something?
No, 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 no. We're good. We're good.
uh,
So
okay.
to address like my feedback of the game, um, yeah. First and foremost, more modes. It's pretty much the same zone control mode every time. So to have more
Oh
modes.
yeah.
Quick mention, by the way, this game is very. If you don't know what we're talking about, this game is very similar to Rogue Company, where you have heroes that have certain abilities that play an objective based game. So the main objective for this game in early access right now is domination or control, whatever you want to call it. And on one map, there's 3 factions. Um, to add to Cloud's point, instead of having just a logo, because I several times I recall I was like, "What team am I on?" And you guys are talking about like I don't even know the names. See, this is why it would be helpful to have the
Hacker
yeah.
Hunters, Corpo,
Corpo
and
and Midnight.
Midnight.
Right. So to have names associated with those colors and logos, that would be very beneficial instead of just having players and it's like 5 or whatever. So that's the first thing I would
Wait,
say.
it does say the name of the team.
It does not say it when you hit tab. It just shows the logo and it just
Yeah,
Oh
he
no,
shares
means
like
he
it
the
means
says it
on the
when you join the
leaderboard
lobby.
screen.
It's like the main where you
Yeah,
choose.
right. But what I'm saying is I want to hit tab and see who I'm on. Right. That's what I would rather see. But that's just my feedback. Um, More modes. There's only one mode, like I said. Team deathmatch would be cool. Capture the flag could be cool. Um, dare I say, battle royale could be cool. Um, Maybe like King of the Hill. Traditional multiplayer game modes, and I'm sure they're going to bring those. It's a very early stage game. Climbing, like Cloud said, I think is be very beneficial to combat because you have characters that, or I only know of one character that has a hook, which is very useful to like add to your mobility. There was one play that I did where I hooked around Mizzy and I like swung around like Tarzan and shot him in the head. It was pretty cool. I wasn't recording it, so that was a missed opportunity to
I
like
don't know what you're
upload some
talking about.
content. But
No proof
yeah,
it didn't happen.
Yep.
yeah, his silence screams volumes.
No, I'm talking,
Um,
and I don't know what you're talking about. I do remember seeing you have killed Crypto Hado quite a lot though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can do 1v1 and we can record that content if you want to. It's up to you.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
the next thing, and to add to my point about climbing, I think that like to cause point, mantling would be very beneficial to like the mobility of the game, which is really cool. You have sliding mechanics. That's really cool. I love that. I can see the Apex Legends like influence because I don't think Rogue Company has sliding. I can't recall, but having that sliding mechanic is really good. I think some animation work needs to be done with the running a little bit.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
it's kind of like I run for like 0.2 second and then I can slide again. And I think that maybe you need to like change that a bit. I think it's too easy to slide. Maybe like tweak it a bit to where you can see the difference in animation. There's an animation ending or ending animation to your sprint or a startup, and then you could slide. And I think that would be more beneficial because I think that would be more rewarding for skill based combat. I think there would be a little bit of a skill gap or learning curve for that. Better optimization, that is definitely important. I mean, the FPS is not consistent. I haven't played around with the settings, but I what I've noticed is even if you lower the settings, it still has issues. So that's not a hardware compatibility issue. It's just a optimization issue. So finding ways to have like a more stable frame rate would be more beneficial to competitive play for like tournaments and stuff. More consistent hitboxes. There have been times where, and I don't know if this is ping related, but there'd be times where I'm shooting someone in the face and I get an instant kill, and there'd be times where I'm shooting somebody and I get no hit detection at all. So having a more accurate or consistent hurt box to have registered bullets hit the actual target to be very beneficial because there was a gunfight with me and Clouds and he was just hopping for the entire match and I was shooting at his face and I swear to God I was hitting him, but like he never took any damage. So like I don't know like if it's ping or I don't know what's going on there,
Sounds
but
like a
Sounds like a
skill
skill
issue to me.
issue.
yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. Anytime Hado can't do anything, it's a skill issue. Anytime Hado does something, I don't remember. So yeah, whatever. uh, in-game settings is lacking severely. You can't even access it when the game starts. I think that should be able to be changed on the fly. But having more options in game to tailor your experience is very important. And I'm sure this will be addressed with the patches. And then the last thing I'll mention is the spawns need to be rotated because I don't know really the thought process behind the spawns. You can spawn camp very easily in this game. And I think since at least for zone based game, team deathmatch, it's you can mess around and spawn a little bit, but zone based games, if you don't have any zones and everyone's on one side of the map, you should be rotating the spawn on the other side of the map. That's just very basic FPS or TPS gameplay. And the last thing I'll mention is December 18th, they're doing an update. So hopefully some of these things will be addressed.
Yeah, for the basically the sliver of feedback you guys allowed me to fucking give. No, I'm just kidding, but you fucking guys went fucking
I'm
all
a
out on all the
nerd.
feedback.
I'm a nerd.
Missy's like, the game is good. I'm having fun.
I will say there's a couple things that I'll mention that you guys didn't already mention, and one of them being when you're switching your team in the beginning, when you're switching around your teams, there were certain instances where I made the mistake of picking the wrong team, and the game hadn't started yet. So being able to switch around my team before the game starts would be nice. Like there were instances where I accidentally picked Hack Hunters and like Clouds, I think, and Hato had picked Midnight, and everyone else ended up on the other team, and I'm just fucked by myself, right? So I was just like, all right, I'm playing with a bunch of randos that I don't know. Still pulled out the dub because that's what I do, baby. But
Where's your proof? Where's your proof? You know proof?
I actually have screenshots
Oh, okay.
because I knew you would fucking say that.
Damn. It's the
Um,
type of lifestyle we have here in Catalyst.
Missy the type of
We
nigga to
gotta,
record every conversation.
we gotta fucking okay.
but yeah, I would have appreciated being able to switch around teams, so I'm not playing with people I don't know. And obviously, that was my fault. I picked the wrong team by accident, but it felt kind of punishing. There was an instant where I accidentally pressed speculator mode, and I awkwardly didn't know how the fuck to leave the speculator mode, so I just had to leave the game and like relog back in. Um, we like early
Oh,
on, like I was pressing the escape button. I was trying to do everything I could to leave spectator mode, and I just couldn't figure it out. So either maybe I'm slow and I just couldn't figure it out, or maybe it's not a feature in the game. Either way, it should be a lot easier to like know what the fuck to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, so those were like random lifestyle things that I noticed just playing the game. You know, I'm already 50 matches in. I'm like level 11 or some shit. Like I've been playing the crap out of this game for the last 2 days, mainly because I've been sick and I don't really have like the mental capacity to do any work right now. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna YOLO this game. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed the sniper. No, it's my turn right now. Give me like 2 minutes.
we got strong arms. I can hold this all day.
All right, cool.
Motherfucker's gonna be up for a
Um,
while, bro.
It's fine with
I
me.
enjoyed the sniper. I tried the sniper for a little bit. That was cool, but like the scope feels weird. Uh, it feels like very fake. I don't know how to explain it. There's like a it
I
just
agree.
it
I
it
agree.
has like no smartness to it, right? Like it doesn't zoom in when you're actually on the target. It's just like it's almost like you're holding a magnifying glass over your fucking face, and you're just like, I hope I hit the target. All right, go ahead, Otto.
No, I agree. That's another point of yeah. This I love sniping in video games. It's not it right now. I just wanted to address the point you brought up about logins. They're atrocious right now. Atrocious. You
Yeah,
have to log in 3 times to just log in once every time you boot up the game. Please
yep.
have some kind of remember me thing or fix the whole, that process needs to be reworked a little bit because I'm just thinking as like a Web 2 gamer. First time playing Citizen Conflict on Epic Game Launcher. Okay, I got to make an account. Ain't no big deal. I get it. It's a game that's outside of this Epic thing. Cool. I shouldn't have to log in every single time. It's atrocious. It needs to be adjusted.
And
Yeah,
there's
yeah. I think the
the
whole
connecting
interface of
thing.
like
Yeah.
remembering your credentials is
Yeah.
it needs to be implemented because it was happening with the settings as well, right? Like every time you get logged out or anything, your settings are not saved. They get reset it back to the way that default comes. So I had to like go in there every single time and like move everything around again. Missy had to change the server every time he logged back in to like from Europe to US. Like so. I think definitely like the interface of
Oh
like
my god, yeah.
remembering like credentials and like your usernames and stuff like that and your settings is definitely something that they can look into as well.
Yeah, because during one of those instances, I just assumed that my shit was acting up. So I didn't realize that you guys were having like the time of your fucking lives, and I kept getting stuck in bot lobbies, right? And I'm just sitting here like, why the fuck am I not being brought set into the same game? Because there's like no team up feature, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know why my mouth isn't moving, but whatever. The fucking VTuber.
Telekinesis,
Yo.
telekinesis. We hear
My
you.
voice is
Um
like
We hear you.
Yeah, so I'm doing these fucking lobbies by myself, and it took me like 4 games to realize that I was on the wrong fucking server because it reset me. Then we had the instance where in between every game, man, like I'm connecting data for fucking. They're collecting my data for like 3 minutes. Like,
Oh my god, yeah.
yeah, so there were, we resulted to just having to turn off the fucking game,
I
log
mean,
back
luckily,
in,
luckily they
then
did
have
a
to
hot
sign in
fix.
again. Yeah. Then have to sign in again to then
Yeah.
be able to connect. So it was a nightmare from that perspective. Obviously, we're Web3 gamers. We don't really give a shit at the end of the day. We understand there's all these things, but just giving feedback on quality of life, gameplay, mechanics. I mean, we gave it to you all, so there you go, guys. We,
I mean no
we
yeah
have real
definitely.
gamers at Catalyst.
Hey guys, remember to elevate your audio game with Riverside.fm. Clear recordings for your podcast made easy. Click on the link in the description to get started now. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it all comes from a good heart, like we want to have good games to play, So, and trust me, nobody wants an FPS or like a shooter to come into the scene more than I do. But this is all just like take it to what for what it is type of thing, implement what you need to implement. These are things that we think it will make the game better and like the experience better. And at least the login situation, if that's fixed, like that's a plus right there, because that was really frustrating in my opinion. But yeah, man, nonetheless, we've been having a lot of fun with Citizen Conflict. If anything, it goes to show and it proves that we don't need much, man. We just give us a fun game, give us like an easy access, easy accessibility to those titles, and then the rest is up to us, like literally. And that's one of the things that I enjoyed the most about Catalyst is that we make the experience fun. We make the game fun by just like the experiences that we have in there. Like we were just a second ago before we started the podcast, we were playing mini Battle Royale Nation just to test it out. We've all played that game numerous amount of times, and it's basically the same concept still, but we were just testing it out, and just a few little match that we did was fun. So it just shows that if you have a good group and the same mentality across all the personalities are involved in that brand, you can make any experience really like something that stands out.
And I do want to give some flowers to Citizen Conflict for like the little character intros they did.
Mm.
I think it's a little nice touch. It's very Rogue Company. I hate to keep bringing
Yeah,
up
those
Rogue
are
Company, but
sick.
it's Rogue Company s to have that kind of thing. If they could expand on that and show the team that you're playing with or something, and then show stats or something, right? Like they could expand on that concept where it's like, here's Crypto Hotto and he's level this and he's got this many kills and I don't know, some fun facts about the
Like the
player's
amount of
stats.
kills stolen, all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Kill stolen from
That's
Mizzy
an
because he gets
important
so
stat.
enraged and it's so much fun.
Yo, I forgot who it was we were playing. We were playing, and there was like some dude called like Big Waddy or some shit.
It's
Big
like
Waddy,
big
And
big Wizzy,
big
yeah.
witty, big
yeah,
witty.
and I fucking look up. I have like 12 assists, and this and like
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 30 kills.
I have like 12 assists and like 20 kills, and this dude has like one assist and like 35 kills.
Yeah,
I'm like, bro, what the
he's
fuck?
Paul Pierce and you're Rajon Rondo, bro. It's all good. You got a championship.
Nah, nah, nah. I don't, I like scoring my own points, bro. If I'm the one putting it halfway down the bucket, give me the
I'm
goddamn
Kobe,
point.
motherfuckers. I'm just ball
Yeah,
hogging that shit.
exactly.
I want my own kills. Go get your own fucking kills.
Yeah,
No,
bro.
man. Yeah, like I said, a lot of Citizen Conflict. I'm sure we're gonna play it moving forward a ton more, and hopefully see this new updates and a lot of these things get fixed, and we're able to enjoy it even more. But I wanted to move on a little bit to some gaming news that's happened throughout this week. Illuvium, for example, right? We all heard the news of Illuvium and Team Liquid coming together for partnerships. Wanted to talk about that a little bit. What do you guys think about that? What do you think that does for the space? What do you think it means for Illuvium?
Absolutely
Is it a
nothing.
good move? Is it a bad move? What's that, Missy?
That don't do shit for the space, bro. I'm keeping it at a buck.
All
Really?
right, all right. So
That's
let's
your
start
take,
with you,
really?
man. What's your opinion on this?
My opinion is, at the end of the day, a lot of these Web2 orgs are known for select games. We talk about it all the time, like they're known for their games, they're known for their titles, and it's very hard for them to actually get viewership outside of those games because most of their, and this is no slight to any of those orgs, it's just what I've seen so far, right? Like we had Cloud9 over at Sparkball, right? I mean, Sparkball must have worked with like fucking 8 to 9 different esports teams. Where are they now? Like, I don't think they've tweeted since fucking August or September
Where
or
are
some shit.
you now?
So it's like, at the end of the day, I know the Illuvium Team Liquid thing is like a little more intimate because they're actually doing like collaborations within Illuvium and like skins. But honestly, I don't see the fandom for a lot of these orgs outside of the games that they got popular playing, which is a big thing that we talk about where it's like, yeah, we'll be recognized for playing certain games as Catalyst, but we always do want, that's why we do so many content pieces and we're so content focused because we do want that, I guess, that brand recognition outside of a title. And for Team Liquid, I just don't see the community that they have being like, oh shit, like Illuvium. Like,
Right.
it's not even the genre of game that they're known for playing.
It's interesting, man, because we keep trying to push this narrative of esports in Web3, and I'm not saying it's impossible, and I'm not saying it's not good to be a pioneer in a new ecosystem and try to push a narrative, not a narrative, but like a culture, right? at the start, but it's just I don't see Web3 being anywhere near ready to having esports scene yet, right? And to me, when you talk about like orgs like Team Liquid, right, which are like you said, they're very well known for specific titles. Team Liquid is not an org that was very well known for creating content pieces when they were in the esports scene, right? It's not like they were creating a ton of content showcasing their esports and like doing content around their personalities and all this stuff, kind of like Optic does or Face does, right? um when you think Team Liquid, at least for me personally, I know Team Liquid from their Brazilian, no wait, I think they were um United Kingdom, right? In CS, I forget if they had a Brazilian team or a European team in CS, but I know them from for CS and I know them for League. You get me? And that's about the two titles that I know Team Liquid for. Yes, they've had many championships across those titles. They're really well known within that crowd. But that crowd doesn't give a fuck about Web3 gaming. They've shown that many numerous amount of times, right? And Missy, you brought up a good point. We've seen this type of moves already, right? We saw it with COG, with Cloud9. We've seen them with Fnatic in EVIO. We've seen them with Ninjas in Pajamas. We've seen so many esports org from Web2 come into the ecosystem and try to do some type of NFT activation within the ecosystems, the games inside our ecosystem, right? And it just doesn't do enough because we're not there yet. We need to do more building with from within before we stretch out to those other org and try to bring them in and implement their models into our ecosystem. Hado, what do you have to say?
I disagree with you guys.
Okay.
I so the game selection I agree with. Like Team Liquid is known for Street Fighter. They're known for Super Smash Bros. Melee and Ultimate. Um, they have actually Hungry Box and the Buzz, which win often, right? But these are fighting games. They also have a team in League of Legends. I'm sure they have people in different games like Rocket League or whatever. And don't quote me on that. I don't know for sure, but I know that they are in like sponsoring streamers and different esports game ecosystem. So I don't think this is an esports play. Um, I think when I look at the list of partners here, I see Coinbase, I see Honda, I see Monster, I see SAP, IMC, Twitch, HyperX, Secret Lab, and these are all products that are synonymous with gaming, right? Except for Honda, right? Honda's kind of the weird one, but even Honda, you can see that it's basically like tech, right? And for me, Team Liquid doing this move for Illuvium is they recognize Illuvium's like rising power in the Web3 scene. And I think they're trying to jump ahead into that market. And I don't think this is an esports play. I think this is a brand trying to associate with another product and integrating their likeness into that product. And so I I see the way I see esports orgs hopping into this Web3 stuff is the same way I see the Premier League hopping in with their fan tokens. I see it as a way for fans of these brands to hop into these economies and have some kind of reward system around their tokens and stuff. I'm not saying a liquid token is coming out, but if these people model, like I think of like League of Legends modeling their entire existence around Premier League or NBA, right? If they're trying to think of it that way, I see them hopping in that way. I don't really see them pushing NFTs. I just see them more putting their product and name alongside Illuvium. That's where I
I,
see it.
I'm gonna have to push back a little bit because part of this partnership is that they're going to work together in an esport tournament, and co-host an esport tournament with 100,000 so whatever price pool. Like I
Right, it's the
think
handshake.
the main approach is going to try to build that esport side of things with their new PvP activation, right? I'm not saying it's gonna happen right now or anything, and I'm not saying Team Liquid might not be involved in other aspects of Illuvium as well, right? Like I know they're probably gonna plan to do skins and involve Team Liquid in some form of like skin inside the game, right? For like the alluvials and all that type of stuff. But I don't know. Like I do feel like they're probably gonna take a turn more towards like the esports side of things and try to build that out for Illuvium.
Right,
My
but
my
Um,
the
point
difference
is
here
What
My
are you gonna
point
say,
is
Casey?
like let's not be cute here. We know what Taryn said during the boss battle space, right? They have Web2 streamers. They're gonna be advertising through the Web2 streamers, and these people are gonna bring access to eyeballs to the game. It's a marketing play. I just don't see it being that big of a deal. I'm not saying that it doesn't set them in the right direction, or maybe it's like I just think of it as something that it could be negative, it could be positive. I just think it's a neutral thing. Like for this to actually work, it requires a lot of lifting on both sides, right? Like Illuvium has to be ready to receive any potential Web2 gamer volume and basically walk these people through on some customer support level shit, one by fucking one when they have questions, right? And then Team Liquid, like for them to actually have an impact on Illuvium, they'd really have to be in it. Like they'd really have to make sure that they're consistently playing Illuvium and making it a part of like the Team Liquid culture, dedicating resources to helping build alongside Illuvium. So it's not something that I disagree. It's not something that I think could it be beneficial. I keep seeing people put Illuvium and Team Liquid on the banner and being like, "This is huge for Web3," without even understanding what it would take for it to be huge. And up until this point, I've never seen any of these activations have the level of commitment needed from a Web2 company or a Web2 esport org in order to actually make a difference. If Team Liquid is willing to allocate those resources and put in the time to really make it happen and have it be a special thing, then I'd be more than happy to be wrong, because then that means they really believe in Web3 and they're really willing to put in the time and the effort to build it. But if it's just the half-assed efforts that we've seen for the last fucking 2 years, they could keep that shit, in my opinion.
Fair enough, man.
No,
Fair
I,
enough.
I I agree with you. I think you brought a lot of good points, and I guess my point is that, and I'm looking like more big picture, not looking at the short term. I'm looking at like the like is COG successful, right? If it is successful, we see more esports partnerships, and I just see a way of like it being a product that they're supporting rather than bringing community. And over time, community gets built from it. And I think it's a long term play. Can it work? Like it could work. I don't know if it's going to work right away, but like I keep going back to like the LCS or the LEC. Like we're talking about a decade of esports being worked at, and it's still on the decline. That's the thing that people aren't even realizing about esports. It's still on the decline. Like I think that's why we're seeing a shift to Web3, because we see Web3 on the rise and esports is on the decline, right? So like there's got to be some kind of synergy there, and there's like an opportunity for them to put their product alongside that product and build community. And I think that's what they're betting on. I don't know if that'll work, but that's where I see is like they're looking at this long term and saying, let's get in early and build community with these two communities.
100. Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I could get it. And I think something that would be really cool is to see them actually bring on Web3 talent into Team Liquid, right?
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
don't get me some nerd that you're gonna fucking start paying to play fucking Illuvium, right? Like, go find the guys that have been playing Illuvium for the last fucking year,
Yeah.
been getting ridiculed while the rest of us told them that Illuvium is dog shit, because that's how most of us felt. Not saying that Illuvium is a bad game, but in its current state, we all, a lot of people gave Illuvium a lot of shit, and there were some of those guys that were like, "Fuck you, I'm still gonna keep playing Illuvium," right? Um, I think those are the people that they should be looking at to add to Team Liquid, and finding ways to maybe put a production budget around, so that way it can be something that creates content and aligns Team Liquid's brand with a Web3 game in a real meaningful way. If they
Yeah.
do that, it would be an absolute home run.
Yeah.
Um, I just, I'm always going to be a little pessimistic, and I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. I mean, this is like that homework that we were talking about, Hado, in that synergy space, right? Like that homework from like the projects from the Web3 native and the people that are getting involved, right? Like for this to be successful, now Team Liquid really needs to adopt and accept Web3 culture, right, within their ecosystem. And like Missy saying, really like go out there and onboard some like personalities or content creators from Web3 native there are Web3 natives, and then know that ecosystem of Illuvium like the back of their hand, and that's like how it's really gonna shine. If they bring a Web2 creator to start doing reviews on Illuvium, and it's like all PR pay promo type of bullshit, like it's just not going to resonate and make that impact that we need.
Let me offer an example to what I think. You guys are spot on, by the way. I 100% agree on everything you guys are saying. I think Dead Drop, what they have done right is blended the Web 2 and Web 3 together. And you've seen like Doc on stage with Crypto Stash, right? And Crypto Stash is a very well established Web 3 content creator.
Yeah.
So, to add to your point, I absolutely think it is crucial and dire that they add a Web3 creator into the Liquid ecosystem. Because if you don't do that, then it just seems like a cash grab. It seems very cheap, and you're just trying to remove players that have been grinding and trying to build a name for themselves and a name for Illuvium, quite frankly, in the space. And it just feels cheap and not relatable and authentic. So I agree to your point,
Exactly.
Nizzy.
That's and I'm very harsh on these things because I think that we've had enough of like the smoke and mirror bullshit. Like if you're gonna do it, do it. If you're not gonna do it all the way, don't bother. That's really where I'm at. Like for example, one of our clouds is wearing an Xset hat. Why the fuck do you think that is? Because Bryson is in Xset, right? Like I don't know what Clouds' relationship was with Xset prior to Bryson being there, but Xset comes off as an authentic Web3 friendly company because they have Web3 gaming
Yep.
basically biggest creator on their roster, right? And Bryson reps Xset very like pretty much at least once or twice a week.
Hmm.
Is he like a esports gamer or anything like that? No, he's more of a personality. But at the end of the day, like Xset, if they wanted to do a Web3 activation tomorrow, they'd have a fan base that would actually show up. And I think for Team Liquid, look at Xset and do it in your style. Obviously, like find that one guy that you really want to rally around that supported Illuvium for a while and make something work.
Well, it's
Um,
mutually benefiting too, right? Because when they see, for example, like the example you used with Exit and Bryson, right? Like when they see Bryson, for example, Bryson did like activations with Ledger, right? And like he did a bunch of shows with Ledger and a bunch of content pieces with Ledger. Now and he shows up to that wearing an Exit merch or something. Now merch is like Exit is also associated with Ledger in some way, right? And like you're saying, if they ever chose to do some type of activation that was more Web3 native or something, they already have that audience captivated and involved with their ecosystem, right? Basically because of Bryson, right? And I don't know if they have any other creators. I haven't really done research on that that are Web3 native. I think Bryce was the first one, but yeah, man, absolutely. That's how I really got involved on like supporting. And it just turns out that I fuck the reason I rock Access so much is basically because I like the branding of it and the quality of the clothing is nice for me. So it just happened that I ended up enjoying the branding. But my first initial jump into it is you're absolutely right, right? Is because somebody that I support in Web3 was native to that brand, right? Just like I bought merch for Optic when I was, which I still do. I'm a huge fan. That's like my number one org when it comes to Web2 esport, right? Is up to gaming. And I buy all their collectible as much as I can because I love that branding, right? And it's something I grew up with. It's kind of like the same feeling here, right? Is when you build that personal connection of like tribalism, right? Like, oh, like there's a guy that I fuck with in the same ecosystem that I'm involved with, right? Bryson. Oh wait, he's involved with this Web2 company, and that Web2 company sells a merch, and that content creator has a code that I can support him with and like buy like get a discount with, like let's do it. You get me? No questions asked. That's the type of impact you need to have with this partnership, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think if they would have announced like leading the announcement of like, hey, we're partnering with so and so from the Illuvium community, and it's
Hmm.
like this is Liquid's actual announcement. In addition to that, we're getting more into the Illuvium ecosystem, and not just so much partnering with Illuvium per se. It seems more as a community building approach. So I can see the criticisms as to how people can be like, well, this isn't for us. This is for Team Liquid. It's not for us. It's not for the community
Yeah,
of Illuvium.
and it's a weird thing, right? Because like for example, we have a lot of people on crypto Twitter. You know, our peers. Some aren't our peers. Some are like newly opportunists from the NFT ecosystem that are now all of a sudden fucking gaming, experts. Uh, just calling it for what it is. A lot of
True.
these people are like, "Oh my god, this is huge! Oh my god, Team Liquid's in Web3 and they're with Illuvium." Like, my guy, have a fucking level of standards. Like, don't just sell out because you see fucking Team Liquid on the banner. Like, what is Team Liquid actually doing, right? Is it extractive or is it adding value to our ecosystem? Because who has more to gain here? Like, Web3 gaming is going to happen whether these guys fucking come or not, right?
Yep.
Like, let's call it for what it is. Ronin's proof of that, right?
Hmm.
Axie's proof of that. Like, are they still a smaller company compared to most gaming companies? Yeah, but they still found a way to onboard 200,000 plus gamers up to one point a million gamers without a fucking Team Liquid cosign. So
Yep.
like, let's not act like it's the end all be all when one of these orgs decides to grace us with their presence. Like, hold them to a certain standard because those same people will go see someone else like Bryson tweet and shit all over him, right? Or see someone else in the ecosystem tweet and they'll shit all over that. But then they'll be sitting there like, oh, Team Liquid is coming to potentially like be a part of our ecosystem, and they're just so excited to see it without even understanding the connotations of what comes from it.
Act like you've been
Yeah,
somewhere.
and people are quick to switch their opinions, bro, because like like yeah, like this activation is good for the ecosystem, right? But like for example, when Face tried to get involved with NFTs and shit, and they ended up rugging with their sandbox experience or whatever it was, right? Everybody was like, "Fuck this! This is the worst thing for Web3. Don't ever let this happen again." Blah 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 blah. And now, like, what's the difference here, right?
Or
Like,
what
it's
about
another
Save the
Web3.
Kids? What about
That's
Save
what
the
I'm saying. Like it
Kids?
was
Yeah.
all related, right? Like I mean, like come on, man. Like you guys, it's what Missy's saying. Like you have to have that type of standard across all interactions of Web3, right? And like who is getting really involved with our ecosystem, and like you said, is it distractive or is it actually beneficial to the ecosystem? So
Yeah, Logan Paul's crypto farm. Go
yeah,
on
man,
and
come on.
on.
Don't you guys want to be part of what's that fucking play, Crypto Zoo or whatever?
Crypto
Yeah,
Zoo, yeah.
fucking zoo.
Let's go
Yeah.
invest in that. Like get like whatever. But no, man. Moving on to another news that happened. Matrix Fire doubling their funding rounds, right? Like from 10 million, I believe, to $20 million. What do you think are the effects for them on that? Because they're not just building a game, right? They're building a whole ecosystem over there. I believe they're building like three titles across their ecosystem. So, do you think this is going to be beneficial for the development? Do you think it gets us a little bit closer to not being so like gated by server times and stuff like
I was
that?
gonna say, open the server, open the goddamn server. The one thing that this game, to bring it back to Citizen Conflict, real quick, they have servers for like almost I guess every region, right? They
Yeah,
got it for
they even have
everything,
multiple NA ones.
right? Yeah, you're right. They have East and West. So like, look, you got a game here that is right up my alley. This is very personal to me because I'm a Valorant loser, right? And I can't even play the fucking game because your hours are not they're not
Friendly.
accessible for
Yeah, they're
Well,
me.
not.
is that a recent thing? Do we actually know that's currently still happening? Like,
I
have
don't
we
know.
recently tried
No,
playing
I'm
it?
not gonna say it. That's why they bring it up. I'm not gonna say it's like a recent update. I don't know if that's still concurrent because
Yeah,
Paddle's
because it's
speaking
been
to when we
like a month
first
or
tried
two.
the game,
Yeah.
like about like 3 months ago. So we don't know if there's been any updates to this, but that was an issue known before.
I'm just yelling
I
from
do.
props perspective as an NFT holder because I'm not. It's ridiculous that you don't have open servers. Go ahead, Missy.
Oh, Prof has NFTs. He should have. He should be up then because those NFTs popped off. But that's for a different podcast.
Probably Web 3.
I think he had it at one point. I don't know if he still does, but yeah, go ahead.
I hope he does because last time I checked, those things were like a 10th floor.
God
Um,
damn.
yeah, bro, they popped off.
I'm about to open up open seats right now. Give me a sec.
Yeah, let's find out live. Let's find out live. What's Matrix Fire? This is a Web3 gaming podcast. Web3 first. So let's speculate on.
I
Let's
got you.
speculate
Go
on
ahead.
camera.
Keep speaking your piece, man. I'll get you
I
the
don't
floor in
gamble,
a
Yeah.
by the
second.
way. I don't gamble.
Hey, it's a sound investment. It's not gambling.
It's not. It's not a It's not gambling if it's your hobby, right?
It's
First of all, not financial advice, guys. This is
not
not
financial
financial
advice.
advice. All right.
Exactly.
Not financial advice.
I'm a VTuber. I'm not even a real person. Like,
Yeah, I'm
don't
just
take
a.
financial
I'm a
advice from me.
Longhorns fan. What do I know?
Exactly. This guy likes college football. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Based. Best time of your life, college. Best time of your life.
I mean, I didn't go to college, so there is that.
I went to community college, so I never went to UT, but whatever.
Oh, okay.
Welcome, baby. Welcome, baby. Miz, you had a point though.
So what were you saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll get back to my point with Matrix Fire. I think the quality of the investment that they did, and there is such a thing as quality of investment. You know, I'm not going to get like too deep into it. Do your own research, but you know, the quality of the investors that they got was really good, and that's, I guess, the more exciting part. A lot of people will get money, but then when you actually realize, like, does this actually contribute to them, and is it something that's really going to help them sustain themselves for a longer period of time? A lot of the times people don't know the actual answer to those questions. In a case like Matrix Fire, for their target demographic, they're doing really well. I think that they know their target audience. It's the Asian mobile first person shooter market, which is why they make sure that even when their servers were, you know, closing and having issues, they made sure that they were on, you know, the right time for their target audience, which makes me kind of excited about the fact that they know what they're doing. They're maximizing their resources. The game itself, I can't say I've personally played it. I've seen other people play it. Like, for example, Kobe, he played it and he showed me some clips. The movement mechanics look a little janky. But at the end of the day, I think because of the funding, they'll be able to fix that now, hopefully. I do see a potential for them to have like that Call of Duty mobile kind of vibe. I think that's what they're really going for. And I do know that they're going to build out an entire ecosystem. They have 2 other games planned. They have like a whole NFT ecosystem that they're going to be releasing. But hopefully they can deliver on the first game before they start to really like try to deliver on multiple titles. But overall, I think Matrix Fire is one of those games that a lot of people are going to end up sleeping on. And before you know it, they're kind of going to look up and be like, how the fuck did these guys get all these users? And it's because they're catering to the Asian market. They know exactly where they're going. They know exactly who they're attracting. And that's what happens when you know where your exact product market fit is. And it seems to me like they even have a very firm understanding of economies and, you know, like almost like a gotcha system as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, how they execute it. But Matrix Fire is definitely a game that I'm going to keep a very close eye on as they develop over the next few months and hopefully a couple of years.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Adam.
let's go to the hands real quick. I have a request and slash question for you. Is this something you would like to approach on the OG Mac? Because I would like to know, why is it called a Matrix Fire?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that would be really cool. I would love to see us do like a OG Mag cover because they have really cool art as well
Yeah,
for like their PFP collection. And I think that would be, you know, they have like that Valorant style. So
yeah, I
for
like their
sure,
character design too. Yeah,
I'll talk to Addis. We could reach out to them and do something because I've been in talks with their team with Paladins a little bit because we were discussing potentially doing like a tournament at some point. Little alpha there, but They are a very cool, like they're a very cordial team. They're more than open to just have conversations and stuff. So it would be nice to talk to them, get a little OG mag thing going, and kind of see what comes from it.
Yeah, I definitely want to like find out more about this game. I really like the character designs. I think they had something displayed at the YGG Summit because I recognized the cosplayer that dressed up as one of the characters. So yeah, I just want to see more about it.
Yeah, man, I agree. I'm super interested in this game, right? Like the whole ecosystem. I think that's something that we've made obvious at Catalyst, right? How involved we want to be with different like ecosystems rather than just like singular games and stuff like that, right? Matrix Fire definitely has my attention. I'll definitely keep doing more research. I would like to know if it's still like gated in the sense of like there's only specific server times available and stuff like that, but it's definitely a game that I would love to try out with the community, or just like our group, and get to playing and see how we can be involved. um I was looking around to see if I could find the NFT collection, but I couldn't find the main one on open seas. I did find the one that's called You Are the Champion one, and that one has like a, it doesn't have a floor price, but it has like WETH offers for like 6.3 ETH or something like that. It's crazy. But yeah. All right, man. I think that's basically all the news that we have for this week when it came to gaming. We're about like an hour in, boys. Any final thoughts, any closing thoughts that you guys want to give out? How do I'll start with you? Any closing thoughts for this week, bro?
Yeah, keep grinding. Even if people hate what you play, you never know what kind of reward you'll get. I think Kobe grinded the hell out of big time, and he got some big time token from it. Um, this space is evolving in real time, and you never know what you're going to get when you continue to put yourself out there and reach out to people that are building product and community. So yeah, keep grinding. I think that a move like TL coming to Web3 is very predictable, and I think there's more to come. I think we're going to see more partnership. I mean, it's kind of like a domino effect. Who's going to go first, right? And then from there, you're going to see the ripple effects, if you will, of all these established brands come in. Like I could see State Farm coming in and doing something. I could see Honda, because you got to think about like Team Liquid is part of LCS and all that stuff. So LCS has State Farm and Honda and all these different partnerships. And if one comes in, they're going to bring their ecosystem with them. So
Hmm.
money is going to flow through into this economy.
Yeah, I'm gonna follow that up with don't be afraid to experiment, right? Like go out there and
Mm-hmm.
experiment. Dude, I'm telling you, 2024 is gonna be a big year for Web3 gaming. There's gonna be a lot of adoption in different sectors, like how to saying, like one of the good things of this move with Tim Liquid is exactly that, right? Like it's the validation that comes with brands like that, trusting the space, right? And it's gonna be more like basically like adding validation to our world, right? Web3 gaming for all these other brands who want to come in and work with us. So definitely go out there, experiment. Don't be afraid to just try new things with your content and prepare for 2024, man. But Messi, go ahead and close this out, brother.
Man, it has been one hell of a week. Yeah, I mean, we had some big news with, Matrix, Illuvium, Team Liquid. Had a lot of fun playing both Seraph and Citizen Conflict. It's nice to see, our space progressing forward and games becoming to a point that we can even give feedback and bitch about them, right? Uh, and by bitching about them, I mean constructively, obviously. But it's 2024 is going to be a good year. Experiment like these guys are saying. I will add also, always try to raise the bar a little. Whether it be with your own self. If you're going to be a content creator, always try to improve. If you're, even if it's as a fan, right? Like hold a higher standard. Like, cool, Team Liquid is in Web3, but what does that mean? Like, let's answer these questions. Let's ask questions and let's know what questions to even ask. I think is like really important.
Yep.
Take out the time to question everything before you choose to be excited about it. I think it's important, and it's the type of thing that'll drive the space forward. If you start questioning things and seeing what's good, what's bad, what can be improved, it'll just raise the bar every single time. And remaining curious in that nature, I think, is very important for us to have the level of success that we want. So that's my closing thoughts. And
Absolutely,
thank
man.
you, everyone.
Hell yeah. This is episode 11 of the Catalyst Effect podcast. We'll see you guys next Friday. Peace.
Peace.